Hey, before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want more of this kind of slow, weird history that helps you forget about emails and sink into something ancient and a little uncomfortable. And let me know in the comments what time it is, where you are, and where you're listening from. I like imagining somebody in Iceland trying to fall asleep to stories about pain and fire ants. It's oddly comforting. Now dim the lights. Get your pillow the way you like it. Maybe pull that blanket up just under your chin. You can close your eyes if you want, or stare into the middle distance while your brain starts buffering. And get ready, because tonight, we're traveling somewhere that doesn't have showers, doesn't have Tylenol, and definitely doesn't have safe words. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1350. You're not in Europe, and you're not in China. You're standing barefoot in the dirt somewhere in what we now call North America. You've got nothing to your name but a few pieces of woven cloth, a bone necklace, and a deeply misplaced sense of optimism. And guess what? You're about to be initiated. Because in this world, pain means something. Pain means you're becoming something. A hunter, a warrior, a man, a woman, a member of the community, a vessel for the spirit world, a walking symbol of your people's survival, whether you asked for it or not. And if you think you're going to get through this with some light chanting and a nice group hug, I have bad news for you. This isn't summer camp. This is ancient life. Pre-Columbian. No contact lenses. Yes, parasites. Sometimes hallucinogenic life. Let's start easy. You're part of a village tucked into the green edges of the Mississippi River. Maybe it's called Cahokia. Or maybe it's just a cluster of wooden homes and thatched rooftops surrounded by tall grass and watchful trees. There are mound temples in the distance, huge piles of earth built by hand, one basket of soil at a time, generations in the making. But you're not worried about engineering. You're worried about what's happening later tonight. Because today's your initiation, and everyone knows it. You wake up on a mat made of reeds. It's itchy. Your face is sticky with last night's sweat. Something bit your ankle in the dark. You're not sure if it was a spider or a flea, or your younger cousin looking for a toe to suck on in his sleep. Welcome to family life in a one-room house. You share this space with your parents, your two brothers, your aunt who doesn't believe in privacy, and about 17 species of insect. Your bedding smells like old fish. There is no such thing as a fresh start. Outside, it's already hot. Summer's here. The air is thick and sweet and buzzing. You can hear the river somewhere past the trees. You can also hear someone throwing up into a pot. Probably your cousin. He started his initiation yesterday. They made him drink something green and bitter and alive. You sit up, your knees pop. You're 13 years old and somehow already sore. You've spent the last 5 years learning how to hunt, scrape hides, carry wood, and not cry when you get burned by an ember. You've failed at all of those at least once. But now it's time to become something else, something bigger. The elders told you what would happen. Sort of. They didn't give you a list. They gave you a story about a boy who walked into the woods as a child and came back a spirit, about how the pain would guide you, how the spirits would enter you through suffering, how fear leaves through sweat. You nodded a lot. It seemed polite. Breakfast today is the same as every day. A mash of cornmeal, a scrap of dried meat if you're lucky, and water that tastes like someone stored it in a sandal. You eat fast. There's no ceremony in meals, just chewing and not choking. You won't eat again for a while, because soon they're going to lead you to the sweat lodge. It's a small dome of bent willow covered in hides and mud. It smells like burnt sage and warm socks. Inside, it's dark. Someone's already started the fire pit in the center. The stones glow like they've swallowed the sun. You crawl in with the other boys. Everyone's trying to pretend they're not nervous. You sit in a circle, knees touching. A man throws water onto the stones. The heat hits you like a slap to the lungs. Your body rebels instantly. Sweat pours out of places you didn't know had pores. Welcome to the steam part of your spiritual awakening. You don't talk. You listen. The older men chant. The steam rises. The pain starts in your skin, like tiny claws scraping from the inside out. Your head swims. Your thoughts go mushy. This is part of the point. You're supposed to let go. Let go of comfort. Let go of control. Let go of all the little stories you told yourself about how this would be easier than it is. You survive it. Sort of. You don't pass out. Someone else does. He's dragged out by his uncle and dumped in the creek like a parboiled deer. That'll be you soon. Don't worry. Everyone gets their turn. After the sweat lodge, you're taken to the edge of the village. Now comes the fasting. No food, no water, no talking. Just you and a patch of ground and 1,000 mosquitoes. You're given a blanket and told to sit and sit and sit. And this is where it really begins. The part of initiation that no one likes to talk about. The part that isn't about cuts or scars or fires. The part where your brain starts peeling like bark. You hallucinate your grandfather. He tells you to stop slouching. You see a snake in the grass. Then you realize it's your belt. You hear drumming even when there's no one around. You cry a little. You laugh once. You think you've made it to the 3rd day. It's been 9 hours. You're not alone. Not really. There are others out here too, watching from the shadows, making sure you don't fall over and die. That's reserved for later, if necessary. Eventually they bring you back. And now the real fun starts. You're led into the middle of the village. The fire pit is burning. Everyone is gathered. This isn't a private affair. This is the community's entertainment. You're the show. But don't worry. They're cheering for you. Kind of. You're handed a sharpened bone. The elder in charge nods. You're supposed to slice your arms. Not deep. Just enough. Enough to bleed. Enough to hurt. Enough to remember. This is bloodletting. It's sacred. It's not meant to harm. It's meant to purify. Your blood feeds the fire. Your pain feeds the gods. Your bravery feeds your people. You do it. Your hands shake. Your eyes sting. But you do it. The blood runs down your arms like dark sap. The fire hisses when it hits. The drumming gets louder. Or maybe your heartbeat just crawled up into your ears. This is what transformation feels like. You won't get a medal. You won't get a certificate. You won't even get a snack. But tomorrow, you'll wake up, and people will look at you differently. Not because you're taller or stronger, but because you made it. You passed the first gate. Congratulations. You're still only 13, but you've already been reborn. And this was just one village, one group, one style of initiation. Because across this whole wide land, pain takes many forms. Somewhere to the west, a young girl is being tattooed with cactus thorns, each poke a mark of beauty, status, survival. Somewhere in the frozen north, a boy is sleeping in a snow shelter, his test of endurance just beginning. Somewhere in the high desert, a child walks a path marked with fire. And somewhere, Someone is dancing for hours without stopping, without eating, without drinking, because that's what the spirits asked for. You wouldn't last a day, but you're here anyway. Still breathing, still itching, still listening. And tomorrow, it gets worse. But for now, close your eyes. Let the sweat dry on your forehead. Feel the sting of your arms, the ache in your legs, the burn in your lungs, and know that somewhere in the past, someone actually lived through all this, on purpose. Sleep well. You're not bleeding by a fire. You're in bed, with blankets, and dental care, and hopefully no fire ants. And that's enough to be thankful for. You're still alive, which is a miracle, honestly. Because last night you bled into a fire while your neighbors watched and clapped. There were chants. There was heat. There were definitely too many drum beats for someone who hadn't eaten in 2 days. But you made it. You limped home with arms that felt like they'd been attacked by angry squirrels, laid down on your bug-filled mat, and stared at the ceiling until the stars finally let you pass out. Now it's morning again. And unfortunately, no, your initiation isn't over. Because in this culture, and in most ancient ones, pain isn't just a single event. It's a process, a journey, a really long, mosquito-infested, hunger-filled, blister-ridden journey that ends with you being a slightly more respected version of yourself, but with more scars and fewer functioning joints. You're sore. That kind of deep, bone-deep sore that makes you consider just staying horizontal forever. But someone throws open the reed door and grunts something at you. Time to get up. You try to stand. Your legs protest. Your arms protest louder. You shuffle outside and immediately step on something wet and mysterious. You decide not to look down. The air is humid and smells like last night's ash, wet grass, and maybe feet. Hard to say. You hear frogs. You hear birds. You hear your name being called, which is rarely a good sign these days. They hand you a new outfit. It's a loincloth. That's it. That's the outfit. Apparently, clothes are for regular people. Initiates don't need comfort, or coverage, or modesty. You're expected to walk around like a half-plucked chicken, shoulders sunburned, thighs chafing, while pretending this is completely normal. And it is, for everyone else. So off you go. Today is about silence. You're supposed to walk the perimeter of the village, not in a straight line. This isn't a nice paved loop with a water fountain and a podcast. It's thorn bushes. It's roots that grab your ankles. It's heat and flies and the occasional surprise from above. Spoiler, it's a bird, and it does not care where you are walking. You trip 3 times. You scratch yourself on something probably poisonous. You lose your sense of direction and end up near the old burial mound, which everyone told you not to do. You whisper a tiny apology to whatever spirits you might have annoyed. You also apologize to your feet, which are now bleeding. You complete the walk. No one claps. You return to the village just in time for the next stage. It's called the test of patience, which sounds gentle. It's not. You're told to sit in front of the elders. Just sit, still, silent, alert. They're watching you. One of them falls asleep. Another stares directly into your soul. You are not allowed to move. You are not allowed to speak. If a fly lands on your face, that's your problem. If your foot goes numb, that's just a bonus challenge. The idea here is that discipline equals strength. A true member of the tribe can master their impulses, including the impulse to itch that bug bite that's slowly becoming its own mountain range on your neck. This lasts 3 hours. Or 7. No one tells you. Time becomes meaningless. Eventually, someone grunts, and you're allowed to stand again. Your legs have locked. Your spine sounds like popcorn. You limp back to your hut like a wounded goat. And guess what? You're still not done. Because tonight is the night of the scar dance. Let that name sit with you for a second. You're taken to a smaller fire, away from the main village. This is where the older initiates come in. They've done this already. They carry scars on their shoulders, their arms, their chests, raised lines like maps. You're about to join the club. A man steps forward with a shard of obsidian. It's sharp, very sharp, but not clean. Nothing here is sterile. There are no gloves, no antibiotics, just hands and ritual and the smell of burning herbs. You're told to kneel. The blade touches your shoulder. It's fast, but not fast enough. You feel everything. The cut, the burn, the sting, the hot rush of air against blood. You don't scream. You want to, but you don't. Because everyone is watching. Again, the blade moves to the other shoulder, then the arms, then your chest. Each cut is a line, a symbol, a story. They say the pain connects you to the past, that every ancestor felt this too. That when you suffer, you become part of the river of blood that links your people back to the beginning. You nod. You believe them, or at least you want to. It's better than thinking about how much this itches already. Later, they rub something into the wounds. It's ash, mixed with herbs. It's meant to help heal. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like someone just invented spicy sandpaper and rubbed it on your nervous system. You lie on your back that night, staring at the ceiling again. Your whole body pulses like a drum. But you made it. Again. You're still here. And tomorrow? Tomorrow is worse. Because tomorrow is the trial of sleep. Spoiler, you don't get any. They wake you before dawn. No breakfast, no water. Just a torch and instructions to follow the others. You're led out of the village, across the fields, through the trees, up a hill that has no business being that steep. You arrive at a sacred site. There's a circle of stones. There are bones scattered around. No one says anything. You're told to sit. You're told to stay awake. You're told to listen. To what? The wind, apparently. The trees, the ancestors, the earth. You try. You try very hard. But your body wants to shut down. Your stomach growls like a trapped bear. Your eyelids keep trying to glue themselves shut. You slap yourself once. It helps for 4 seconds. You hear something move in the grass. You pretend it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. But you are way too tired to deal with that right now. You survive the night, barely. They take you back just before sunrise. You're told you did well. You're not sure what part they're talking about. You smell like fear and dirt. Your cuts are crusted over. Your arms look like a failed attempt at cave art. You haven't spoken in 2 days. You forgot what your own voice sounds like. And still, you're not done. Because tomorrow is the fire test. But for now, you can lie down. Your mat is still itchy. The bugs are still there. But the sky is turning soft and purple, and your body has officially given up trying to stay conscious. You close your eyes. You made it through another part of the ancient world. And somehow, you still have all your fingers. You wouldn't last a day, but you're lasting anyway, and that's kind of the point. Now, sleep. You're not in a thorn patch. You're not fasting by moonlight. You're not bleeding in a circle of strangers. You're home, in a bed, with toothpaste and ibuprofen and a functioning immune system. And tomorrow, I'll tell you what happens when they light the fire. Spoiler again, it hurts. But right now, you're safe. You're still. Good night. Okay, you're up again. Kind of. You're not really sure anymore. You don't remember falling asleep, but you must have, because now you're awake, and the world is a little brighter, and your shoulders feel like someone tried to sand them with a cactus. You sit up slowly. Everything protests. Your skin, your stomach, your dignity. Today is the fire. No one says it directly. They don't have to. You see it in the way people glance at you, in the extra space they give when you walk by, in the way your grandmother put a hand on your arm this morning and just nodded. That's the kind of nod you give someone who's about to do something stupid, or brave, or both. Breakfast is optional today, which is good, because your stomach isn't interested in participation right now. You drink a little water from a clay cup. It tastes like clay, and river, and possibly something that used to be alive. But it's wet, and that's good enough. The sun's rising fast. The sky is white-blue, hot already, air thick like soup, and you are officially not ready. But ready doesn't matter. You walk with the others, 3 of you left now, out toward the clearing. The ceremonial ground, the place that smells like burnt wood and old sweat and things that aren't quite memories. The fire's already been lit. It's not huge, just controlled, contained, mean. A shallow pit, packed with glowing stones, orange and red and pulsing. There are people circling it, humming low. The elders, the watchers, the ones who already did this long ago and somehow didn't die. You're told to sit. You're handed a small stick carved with lines. You're told to throw it in when you're ready. So you sit there, clutching a symbol of your own choice, and you wait. Your mouth is dry. Your chest is tight. The world feels very slow and very loud all at once. You're not told what will happen. That's part of it. You're not supposed to know. You're supposed to feel. So you throw the stick. And that's the signal. 2 men step forward. They take your arms, not harshly, just firmly, like gravity but personal. You stand. They lead you around the fire once, twice, 3 times. You're dizzy already. Then they stop, and one of them reaches for the burning stone with a set of antler tongs. He pulls out something red, metal, bone. You don't know. It glows like anger. It hisses. They bring it toward you. No words, no chant, just pain. They press it against your chest. You scream, but not loud. It's not a cry. It's more like a sound your throat makes when your brain can't catch up. It's a brand, a mark, a symbol burned into your skin. You smell yourself. You smell yourself burning. It's too much, but it's fast. Then it's over, and they step back, and your legs forget how to hold you. You fall forward, caught by someone's arms, and for a second, you think you might die from it. Not the pain, the weight of it, the truth of it. Because now it's done. This was the final part. The scar will never go away. Not that one. It's shaped like something sacred. You can't see it, but you'll feel it every time you move, every time you breathe. They carry you to the edge of the circle and lay you down in the grass. You feel everything. The heat of the sun, the cool of the dirt, the buzz of a fly passing over your nose. You're alive. Congratulations. You're a new person now. Technically, your old self, that kid who flinched at spiders and hated the cold, he's gone. Now you're part of the fire. That's what they say. You sleep for a while, not because you choose to, but because your body clocks out. Everything just shuts down. It's the kind of sleep that's closer to unconsciousness. You dream about smoke and drums and the face of your grandfather, but younger. When you wake up, someone's beside you. It's your sister. She hands you a bowl. Inside, porridge. Mushy, gray, smells like boiled sadness. It is the best thing you've ever tasted. You slurp it down with the enthusiasm of someone who hasn't felt solid food in 3 days. Because you haven't. It's grain, and maybe a chunk of dried squash, and something crunchy you pray was intentional. You don't care. You eat all of it. You sit quietly for a while. No one bothers you. You're allowed to rest now. You've earned it. But this is just one tradition, one path, one kind of pain. Because across the continent, across forests and rivers and plains, people are doing the same thing, hurting on purpose to become someone new. Let's go west. Let's talk about the Mandan. Yes, them. Because if you thought a little fire and fasting was rough, wait until you hear about what they do with sharp sticks and hanging flesh. And yes, you're next, but not right now. You've got a few hours to breathe. So close your eyes. You're not being branded. You're not hallucinating under a tree. You're in bed, with sheets, and no ceremony scheduled, which means, for now, you're safe. More tomorrow. Sleep while you can. Okay, you've had a little sleep. Your skin is still tender. Your belly's not empty anymore. And for the first time in days, you're not actively being yelled at, cut open, or told to stare at the moon without blinking. That's progress. But don't get too comfortable. Because now, we're heading west. And we're going to talk about what happens when you're born into a culture that believes pain isn't just part of growing up. Pain is how the spirits know you exist. Let's say you're Mandan. You're a young man. Somewhere on the northern plains, in what will one day be called North Dakota. It's summer, and the sun dance is about to begin. You don't know this yet, but people will one day write about this ritual in books that will try very hard to sound respectful, while also sweating nervously at the details. Because this isn't just a rite of passage. This is full-blown, no breaks, body meets cosmos transformation. Through suffering, on purpose. You wake up in a round earthen lodge. It smells like dust and dried meat and years of breath. The air is dry. The wind outside sounds like it's gossiping about you. You stretch. Every joint pops. That's fine. You're going to miss the feeling of your limbs working soon anyway. There's not much time. Today is the start of the Oki-Pa ceremony. It's a 4-day ordeal. That's the polite version. You'll fast. You'll dance. You'll be pierced. You'll hang from ropes by your chest skin while people watch. Again, this is not metaphorical. This is not a figure of speech. You're going to be suspended from the ceiling of a lodge by 2 ropes, and those ropes are going to be attached to your skin. And yes, it's as awful as it sounds, but it's also sacred. So let's begin. Day 1. Fasting. You stop eating. You stop drinking. You stop speaking. You stop being a person with normal human needs and start being a vessel for strength. The lodge fills with other young men like you. Everyone's quiet. The heat rises. The sweat dries before it can even form. You lie on a buffalo robe and try not to think about food or water or how badly you need both. You think about your dreams instead, your purpose, your spirit helper, the reason you're doing this, which, honestly, you'd really like to remember right now. Day 2. Dancing. Still no food. Still no water. Still no relief. Now you dance. You don't stop dancing. You move in slow circles, in sync with a drum beat that never ends, around a central pole carved with sacred images. Every part of your body hurts. Your legs burn. Your mouth is a desert. Your eyes feel like they're coated in smoke. You keep dancing. This lasts all day, then all night, then another day, then another night. You lose track of time. You stop being tired. You start being empty. And that's exactly where they want you. Day 3. The piercing. Now comes the part that makes history teachers sweat when trying to explain it on PowerPoint. You lie on your back, and an elder, calm, focused, not at all in a rush, takes 2 sharpened slivers of bone. They look like short sticks. They are not decorative. He pinches the skin on your chest and stabs the bone through it. 1, then the other. You don't scream. You grit your teeth so hard your jaw locks. Blood runs. That's part of it. The blood is your offering. The pain is your connection. Once the bones are through, they tie rawhide ropes to the ends. The ropes go up to the lodge ceiling. You are now a human chandelier. They lift you, slowly. And as your body leaves the ground, everything you've ever believed in gets real fast. Because nothing feels more spiritual than dangling by your own flesh in a sweat lodge while your ancestors nod in grim approval. They hang you there. They spin you. Sometimes they attach weights to your legs, skulls, skins. Something heavy enough to make sure the skin doesn't tear too fast. You're not allowed to cry out. You're supposed to receive visions. You hang until you faint. When you wake up, you're still hanging. Eventually, the skin tears. That's how you come down. It's considered a good thing. Some say you don't really become a man until your skin gives up before your spirit does. You fall, you're caught, or you hit the ground. Depends on the lodge. Depends on the moment. You lie there, half conscious, more spirit than body. And then someone helps you up. They hand you water, meat, a robe. You've passed. You're not just a boy anymore. You're a man. You're part of the sacred circle. You will never forget the pain, but you'll never regret it either. Not out loud. Back in the present, you, our imaginary time traveler, are relieved to be back in your bed, because hanging from your chest skin probably wasn't what you had in mind for a spiritual awakening. So let's take a breath. Let's shake that out, and let's remember. These rituals, as harsh as they seem, weren't created to punish. They were designed to shape, to sharpen, to bind people to each other and to something bigger. And also, yes, to absolutely wreck your pain tolerance. But let's keep going. We're not even halfway through North America yet. Next stop, the desert Southwest. Because if you think frostbite initiation was bad, wait until you meet the sun and the cactus. But for now, take a moment. Lie very still. You are not fasting. You are not being spun. You are not even pierced. You are hydrated, horizontal, and deeply grateful for things like mattresses and anesthesia. More soon. Sleep while it's safe. You're still here. Still not suspended from a wooden ceiling. Still not fasting in a lodge that smells like smoke, sweat, and skin oil. Congratulations. Your ribs are intact. Your hydration levels are acceptable. Your mattress hasn't betrayed you. This is, objectively, the softest initiation you will ever not participate in. So let's ruin that comfort. Let's head south. We're walking now, slowly, into the dry lands of what is now Arizona and New Mexico. Desert country, home to cliff dwellings, canyon winds, and a sun that doesn't ask permission. Welcome to the ancestral world of the Pueblo peoples. It's beautiful here. Red rocks, wide skies, mesas that rise like forgotten gods. But don't let the scenery distract you. You're not here for a vacation. You're here for a test of endurance. Let's say you're a Hopi boy, 12 years old. You've been watching the Kachina dances your whole life. You've seen the masked figures appear at ceremonies, representing the spirits, the clouds, the harvest, the rain. And now you're going to meet them, not just with your eyes, with your body. Today is the beginning of your initiation into the Kachina society. You wake up before dawn. The air is cold, not cute cold, cold, cold. Desert nights do that. The sun is lazy right now, still hiding behind the cliffs, but soon it will crawl overhead like a giant heat lamp set to incinerate. You eat a little cornmeal porridge and drink something warm. Someone tells you this is the last food you'll see for a while. You nod, like that's fine. It's not. You're led to a ceremonial plaza. There are other boys here, some older, some scared. One is chewing on a stick in the way that says, "I am deeply not okay with this, but I will die before admitting it." The Kachinas arrive. Men in painted masks, feathers, skirts, bells on their ankles. They don't speak. They move like they're made of thunder and dust. You're told not to make eye contact. Then the whipping begins. Yes, whipping. The Kachinas carry yucca whips, bundles of tough green yucca blades, braided and trimmed into instruments of educational correction. One by one, each boy kneels. Each receives a set number of lashes on the back, the legs, the arms. It's symbolic, they say. It teaches respect. It cleanses disobedience. It connects you to the spirit world through sharp, leafy pain. And you are not allowed to cry. That's part of the deal. If you cry, you fail. You bite your cheek. The yucca stings. It slices. Not deep, but deep enough to make you remember. You get through it. Barely. Someone rubs something on the welts. It smells like tree sap and dirt. It helps. Kind of. You're told to lie down. Now comes the dreaming part. You don't get instructions. Just a blanket made of rabbit fur and a rock for a pillow. You fall asleep eventually. And you dream. Of course you do. Of fire, of masked faces, of water you can't drink and voices you don't understand. You wake up and it's still the same day, but you feel like a different person. Not stronger, not wiser, just changed. You're told that now you are part of something greater. You will learn the dances. You will carry the stories. You will one day wear the mask. You don't speak, because that's not what this moment is for. You bow. You leave the plaza. Your legs tremble. And somewhere behind you, the Kachinas disappear into the canyon shadows like smoke. It's over. For now. You walk home in silence. And you realize something. Pain is the door. It's the thing you step through to belong. And it doesn't matter where you are. The forests, the plains, the cliffs, the snow. Pain always shows up. Wrapped in ceremony, dressed in feathers, disguised as tradition, but always waiting. Waiting for you to grow. Back in your modern bed, you breathe a little slower now. You're starting to understand. Initiation is never casual. It's not meant to be. It's heavy, raw, honest, and it always hurts. But right now, your only test is staying still under the covers, and you're doing great. More stories tomorrow. Let your body soften. Let your jaw unclench. You are not in the desert. You are not kneeling in front of a spirit in a mask. You are horizontal, federal, warm, safe. Good night for now. The sky in your dream was red, not angry red, more like the color of burnt clay. You were standing in a circle of stone, surrounded by tall people with no faces. One of them handed you a gourd. You drank. It tasted like smoke and earth and something green that shouldn't be green. You woke up and realized it was just a dream. But if it wasn't, you did great. It's okay. You're not alone. After a few nights of this, the line between sleep and memory gets a little blurry. That's how these stories work. They soak in. They stay. And now it's time to go north. Up toward the cold forests and wide lakes. Toward what is now Ontario and New York and the Great Lakes region. This is the home of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. People you might have heard called the Iroquois. And yes, they had initiations too. Let's say you were born into a longhouse village. You've grown up surrounded by fire pits and bark walls and the smell of boiling corn. You've watched your aunt sharpen bone tools while chewing tobacco that could peel paint. You've learned to respect the elders, the seasons, the land. And now you're about to learn something else. What it takes to become a man. You're 13, or close enough. And today, the elders have called you out. Not for punishment, not yet, but for the midwinter ceremony. It's the new year, spirit time. You're going to fast. You're going to confess. You're going to be tested. It begins with the white dog sacrifice. Yes, you heard that right. A white dog, pure, symbolic, raised with care, is sacrificed. Its spirit carries away the bad dreams, the illnesses, the chaos of the year before. You're told to watch, to understand. You do. You don't blink. You don't cry. You hold the moment inside your chest like a hot stone. Next, the dream sharing. Everyone in the longhouse shares their dreams from the past year. Every single one. No pressure. The belief is that dreams come from the spirit world, that if you ignore them, they build up inside you and make you sick. So you confess, even the strange ones, even the ones about running through snow with a deer's head or fighting your brother with a talking stick. The elders nod. They take it seriously, because this isn't about entertainment. This is about release. Then comes the false faces. This is where it gets weird. Men in carved wooden masks walk through the village. Their faces are twisted, dramatic, slightly terrifying. They represent the healing spirits, the ones that laugh and scream and drive away disease. You're told not to look directly at them. You do anyway. One sees you, and now you're marked. You will join them later. But not yet. First, the Ganagansa, the shaking tent. You are not ready for the shaking tent. Nobody is. It's a small structure built outside the village, covered in skins and bark. Inside, a shaman, or whatever word your people use, sits alone with a rattle. The tent begins to move. No one touches it. No one breathes. It sways. It bends. It groans. The spirits are inside. You are told to ask a question, but your throat closes. You feel something watching you from the tree line. You leave without speaking. That's okay. The spirits heard you anyway. Now you're led to the fire. It's time for the test. Not one of blood this time. This is a test of fire and ash. You're handed a coal. Not glowing, but hot enough. You hold it in your palm as long as you can. You wince. You grit your teeth. You feel it branding you from the inside. Someone counts. Slowly. You drop it after 7. The elder nods. You passed. Not because you held it the longest, but because you didn't scream. Pain isn't the enemy here. Fear is. You walk back to the longhouse. Your palm is red. Your eyes are glassy. You're hungry, but proud. Later that night, you're invited into the men's circle. You sit near the fire, and no one laughs at you anymore. Because now, you're one of them. You burned. You dreamed. You were seen by the spirits. You made it. And now you can rest. You lie back on your bed of woven mats and bark and breathe in the wood smoke. The longhouse crackles. The stars peek through the smoke hole. You hear someone snore across the room. You smile. You're not a child anymore. You're a person with scars and stories. You wouldn't last a day, but somehow you did. And back in your world, you're under a soft blanket. Your hands are whole. Your spirits are probably bored. But that's fine. You have Wi-Fi. And you don't need a white dog to carry your bad dreams away. You can just turn off the screen. Tomorrow, we head even further north, where the cold itself becomes the test. But for now, close your eyes. The fire's low. The dreams are quiet. You're safe. Good night. You're warm now. Really warm. Almost too warm if you're being honest. Your blanket's pulled up around your shoulders like a burrito wrap of safety. And you've got that half-floating feeling where you're not really awake anymore, but you're not fully asleep either. You could drift off right now, but your curiosity's still awake. It's sitting there next to you, propped up on an elbow, whispering, "So what happened next?" Well, let's go somewhere colder. A lot colder. You're walking now, not literally, but in your mind, north of the Great Lakes, way up where the rivers don't freeze because they're flowing too fast, where the wind carves patterns into the snow and the sun just sort of gives up for half the year. You're entering the world of the Innu and Cree, Ojibwe and Diné, Arctic and subarctic peoples whose lives were built not around cities or temples or ceremonial fire pits, but around the endless movement of cold and silence. And yes, they had initiation too. It just looked a little different. Imagine you're born into a nomadic camp. You live in a conical tent made of caribou hide stretched over wooden poles. You share it with your parents, your siblings, your cousins, your uncle who smells like boiled grease and has opinions about everything, and sometimes a few dogs, if it's cold enough. You sleep under a pile of furs that makes you feel like you're drowning in animal warmth. The ground beneath you is hard-packed snow. The air inside the tent is smoky from the oil lamp that runs on seal fat, and everything you own smells faintly of burnt meat and damp hair. There are no mirrors, no walls, no clocks. The only thing that tells you you're getting older is the way people stop patting your head and start handing you heavier things to carry. By the time you're around 12, the signs start showing. Your father doesn't smile as much around you anymore. The older boys stop including you in the sled games and start waiting to see if you can make it up the hill on your own. You're no longer just a kid with soft hands and wide eyes. You're expected to endure, expected to follow, and more importantly, expected to learn the lesson that the cold doesn't care if you're ready. So one day, you're woken up before the sky turns blue. The wind outside is howling in that hollow, miserable tone that says, no one is meant to live here. But that's exactly the point. You're handed a bundle of gear. Not much. A skin coat, a pair of snowshoes, a water skin that's half frozen. You're told to follow one of the hunters into the woods. He doesn't talk to you. He just walks. And you follow. You walk for hours. At first, it's exciting. You're thinking about the story you'll tell when you come back. But after the third hour, after your boots are soaked through and your fingers start to sting even inside your mitts, the excitement turns into something else. A kind of numb awareness that your legs are moving, but the rest of you would really like to quit. That's when he stops. The hunter. He points to a spot in the snow. "Build a shelter," he says. Then he walks away. And that's that. You're alone now. It's not a game. There's no camera crew hiding in the trees. No panic button. Just snow, wind, and your heartbeat thudding somewhere near your throat. So you do what you've seen done 100 times. You start digging. Not just a hole, but a trench. You pile snow up around it, pack it with your hands, use your coat to scoop it tighter. You build a ceiling out of branches and a chunk of hide from your pack. It's terrible, sloppy, too low on one side, but it's a hole in the snow and it's yours. Then you crawl inside, and the silence hits. Because out here, away from the campfires and human voices, it's just wind and snow and the sound of your own breath, going faster than it should. You try to slow it down. You chew a piece of dried meat, the only thing you brought, even though it tastes like salt and sinew and sadness. You try not to fall asleep, because you know what happens if you fall asleep out here and don't wake up. At some point in the night, something brushes the outside of your shelter. You freeze, literally and figuratively. Maybe it's a fox, maybe a spirit, maybe just the wind shifting your sloppy roof. But you don't move. You hold your breath like it's the only thing keeping you alive. Morning comes. Somehow, gray light seeps through the cracks. You crawl out of your shelter and everything hurts. Your back, your knees, your fingers, your pride, but you're still breathing, and that means you passed. The hunter shows up again, just appears out of the trees like he was waiting the whole time. He looks at you, then looks at your shelter. He doesn't smile. He just grunts. You follow him back to the camp. No one cheers. No one claps. But that night, you get the biggest piece of caribou at dinner. And that's how you know. You're one of them now. You survived the cold. You built your own place in it. You slept inside your fear and came out on the other side. And it only cost you most of your toes feeling and maybe a year off your lifespan. But, hey, you wouldn't last a day. You lasted the night, which is more than a lot of people can say. Back in your warm, 21st century bed, with a space heater humming softly, and a soft mattress cradling your poor, overcooked back, you can let that story settle. You weren't actually there, but your imagination went. And that's enough. Because pain doesn't just exist in the body, it exists in memory, in culture, in stories told around fires that had to be fed by something more than just wood. We've covered a lot already. Cuts, burns, fasting, hanging, whipping, confessing to spirits in wooden masks, holding fire in your hands. And we're not even done yet. Because next we talk about trials of silence, of isolation, of watching. But right now, it's time to rest. Let your shoulders sink down into the bed. Feel the weight of your blanket. Not like caribou hide, but close enough. You're not outside. You're not in the snow. You're not building a wind shelter in -20 degrees. You're warm. You're inside. You're safe. Sleep now. You've earned it. More pain tomorrow. But for now, good night. The quiet is heavier now. Not just the kind of quiet that comes when your phone finally dies and you can hear the refrigerator humming in the other room. This is the kind of quiet that sits on your chest, that stretches across the snow-covered forests and down into the dark hollows of your thoughts. The kind of quiet that doesn't need you to listen, because it knows you already are. Tonight's story is slower. It's about watching and waiting and learning how not to speak. Let's leave the cold behind for a bit, but not the quiet. This time, you're part of a group often forgotten in these stories. You're born into a coastal village, tucked among the cedar forests and fog banks of the Pacific Northwest. You don't live in a desert or a prairie. You don't dance in the snow or sleep in a round tent. You live in a longhouse, a long, wide wooden building carved and painted with stories older than anyone can remember. The beams above your head have been there for generations. The floor is packed dirt. The smoke holes let the steam rise from the cedar-scented fires that crackle at the center of your family's life. You are Tlingit, or maybe Haida, maybe Nu Chanolth. The name isn't the important part. What matters is that your world is built around the water, around the salmon, around the great cedar trees that give you everything. Your homes, your canoes, your tools, your names. And today, you're being watched. No one says it out loud. That would be too easy. But you feel it. You feel it in the way your uncles go quiet when you enter the room, in the way your grandmother stares at your hands while you try to carve your first fishhook, in the way your cousin, who went through it last year, hasn't made eye contact with you in 3 days. Something's coming. And then one day, it does. It begins with silence. You're pulled aside by one of the elders, not gently, not cruelly either, just firmly, like a hand that knows this is the moment, and the moment won't wait for you to be ready. You're told to follow, and you do. You're led deep into the trees. The cedar canopy is thick here, filtering the light until the world turns green and gold. It smells like moss and salt and something older than language. You arrive at a hut, more like a shelter. It's simple. Bark walls, low ceiling, just tall enough to sit inside. There's no bed, no fire, just a pile of blankets, and a carved mask sitting on a log. It's not a pretty mask. It's not supposed to be. The face is stretched into something inhuman, with bulging eyes and a mouth wide open, frozen in mid-scream or mid-laugh. You're not sure which. It's painted red and black and white. The eyes seem to move even when you're still. You're told nothing, just that you are to stay here. For 4 days, no food, no speaking, no fire, just you, the mask, and your own mind. You sit down slowly. The blankets rustle. The air is damp and cold. You try not to breathe too loudly. You try not to look directly at the mask. Night comes fast under the trees, and with it, the first sound. You don't know what it is. Maybe an owl, maybe the wind, maybe the mask breathing through the dark. You sit still. You breathe slowly. You try not to blink too often, because when you blink, the mask seems to move just a little closer. Your stomach growls. Your body aches. But more than anything, you want to speak. You want to say, "I'm hungry," or "I don't get it," or even just "hello." But you can't. Because this part of the ritual isn't about your voice. It's about listening to the forest, to your dreams, to the ancestors, to the silence you carry inside yourself, the one that's been covered up by chores and noise and laughter and questions. You sleep in fits. You dream of paddling a canoe made of bone over a sea that smells like fire. You wake up to see the mask staring at you from a slightly different angle. Or maybe your eyes are playing tricks again. By the 3rd day, you stop counting hours. Your body has stopped asking for food. It just aches now, quietly, constantly. And then comes the moment. Not loud, not sudden, just a shift. Something soft inside your mind clicks open, like a door that was stuck for years. You breathe in, and for the first time, you understand why they sent you here. You weren't just being watched, you were being returned to yourself, because in this culture, like many others, the journey to adulthood doesn't begin with action. It begins with stillness. Before you speak for the tribe, before you carve the totems or guide the canoe, you must prove you can be alone with yourself, with the things that scare you, with the hunger, with the quiet. That night, someone appears outside the hut. A shadow. A voice, quiet as pine needles. You can come out now. You crawl into the open air like a new animal. The world is loud, bright, so full of scent it makes your head spin. You are hugged. You are given water, and a bowl of warm fish soup so salty and so smoky and so good it makes you weep into it. No one says, "Welcome back." They don't have to. You were never gone. You were just growing. And now you are part of the Watchers. Back in the modern world, your room is quiet in a different way. No trees overhead. No cedar smoke curling into your nose. Just the hum of your body getting ready to sleep. The soft sound of fabric shifting. The hush of your breath. That's enough. That's what initiation is. Not always fire, not always knives. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's just staying still long enough to hear your own heartbeat. You've heard enough for tonight. Let that quiet carry you now. Sink into it. You're not in the forest. You're not sitting across from a mask that's slightly too alive. You're safe. And you're home. Tomorrow, more pain. More stories. But for now, sleep. It's strange how silence lingers, isn't it? Even after the story ends. Like when you leave a dark forest and step into sunlight, your ears still hold the shadows. Your mind keeps echoing. You're out, but not really. That's the kind of silence we're carrying now. And that's good, because where we're going next, it gets loud. Not with noise, not with drums or screams or songs, but with motion, with heat, with the kind of pain that leaves you unsure whether your legs are still part of your body. We're heading to the southeast now, to the swamps and rivers and humid pine forests that once held the heartlands of the Muskogee, the Natchez, the Chickasaw, a place thick with life, and mosquitoes, and ceremonial plazas that crackle with memory. Let's say you're born into a Muskogee town. It's summer, because it's always summer here, or it feels like it. You live in a thatched roof house made of mud and sticks, and everything around you smells like water that never dries. Your hair never dries either. Your skin is always sticky. Your clothes, what little you wear, are always a little damp. Not wet, not soaked, just damp. As if the air itself is wrapping you in a sweaty hug and won't let go. You grow up learning how to fish with your hands, how to walk without sinking into mud, how to avoid fire ants, thorny vines, and the snake that likes to curl up under the sweetgrass. Your family is large. Your uncles are loud. Your aunts roll their eyes a lot. You sleep on woven mats, and you dream about tall mounds with steps leading into the sky. Then one day, they tell you it's time. No big announcement, just a quiet moment with one of the elders putting a hand on your shoulder. You're going to the square, they say. And that's all. You've seen the square before. Everyone has. It's the center of town, a big open space with packed earth and carved poles and benches for watching. During festivals, it's loud with food and music and arguments. But not today. Today, it's for you. And the other boys. Initiation time. You don't sleep the night before. Not because you're scared. You just don't want to miss the moment when your childhood ends. The sun rises through the moss-draped trees. The ground steams. You walk barefoot to the square, and every step feels heavier. Not because of fear, because of meaning. You're wrapped in a cloth. You've been painted with ash. Someone burned something bitter and smeared it across your chest. It smells like regret and tree bark. The elders are already there. So are the warriors. And the old women, sitting quietly with their weaving, pretending not to watch, but definitely watching. They begin with the run. It sounds simple. It's not. You and the others are told to run around the edge of the village, not once, not twice, just until. There's no finish line, no cheers. You run until your legs shake, until the sweat pours down your face like it's trying to escape, until you fall. And when you fall, they pick you up. and tell you to run again. This goes on for hours. Under the sun, through dust, past homes and trees, and the edge of your strength. They say it teaches endurance, that you must know your limits to protect the village. That pain teaches your spirit to listen. You mostly hear your lungs screaming, but still, you run. Eventually, when the world is blurry and your legs move only because they've forgotten how to stop, they call you back. You collapse in the square, and that's when they begin the medicine. It's a drink. It's always a drink. A dark, bitter brew made from roots and bark and leaves and things no child should ever swallow on purpose. You are handed a bowl. You drink. Your stomach flips like it's trying to climb out of your mouth. You gag. You sweat more. You vomit. This is the point. You must purge the child from your body. You must make room for the adult. They laugh quietly when you throw up the second time. Not cruelly, just knowingly. Now you're empty, someone says. Time to fill you with truth. Then comes the ordeal of heat. You're led into a sweat lodge. It's not a spa. It's a dome made of sticks and skins, sealed tight with stones pulled from the fire and placed inside a pit at the center. They throw water on the stones. Steam explodes. The air becomes soup. Thick, angry, alive. You sit inside with the other boys, naked, silent, blinking slowly like frogs in a pot that's starting to boil. You're not allowed to leave until you say your dream. That's the rule. Every boy must say what they saw. In sleep, in fire, in pain. If your dream is empty, you're not ready. If your dream is full, you pass. You close your eyes. You reach for something, anything, and you speak. You say what you saw last night, a panther in a tree, a snake made of stars, a woman with feathers for eyes. It's enough. They nod. You survive. Barely. They let you crawl out, gasping like a fish that's finally touched air. And when you do, there's food. Real food. Corn cakes. Roasted meat. Something sweet made with berries and river honey. You eat like someone who hasn't chewed in a year. Because you haven't, really. You've been chewing on questions, and now you finally get something solid. That night, you're allowed to sit at the fire with the men. They talk louder now. Laugh harder. You're part of it. You're one of them. You don't need to prove anything else. Just listen, and eat, and sleep without flinching. Because you've done the hard part. You've run until your spirit cracked open. You've boiled your body in sweat and fear. You've purged. You've dreamed. And somehow, you're still here. That's all they ever asked. Back in your modern bed, you roll onto your side. The room is dark. The sheets are soft. There's no ash on your chest, no bitter root drink in your mouth. Just the hum of sleep coming toward you. Take a breath. Let it out. You don't need to run tonight. No square to reach. No elders watching. Just rest. The next ritual can wait. For now, good night. Sleep comes differently now. It's quieter, heavier. Your thoughts don't talk as loudly as they did a few nights ago. You're getting used to this rhythm, falling into these strange, ancient worlds and waking up with the faint sense that you've been someone else. That maybe, in some version of time that still breathes beneath the bones of the earth, You were there, watching, listening, enduring. Tonight we're going somewhere different. Not north, not south, not west or east. Tonight we're going inward. Because not every initiation was about running or fire or frostbite or blood. Some rituals weren't loud at all. Some were done in small corners of the world, in communities that knew how to listen to the land without leaving footprints on it. Tribes that didn't build giant cities or carve massive mounds, but who lived with the forest like it was a second skin. You're waking up now in a small wooded village. It's quiet here. The houses are round and low to the ground, made of saplings bent into domes and covered in bark and woven mats. The earth beneath your feet is soft, blanketed with pine needles and leaf mulch that smells sweet and wet. Somewhere nearby, a bird calls once, just once. Then the silence returns like a held breath. You're a teenager, almost grown. You've spent your life among the Nipmuc, or the Penobscot, or the Abenaki. It doesn't matter which, because in this world, the land connects all things, and the lesson you're about to learn is less about proving your strength and more about proving your place in the web of everything. Your mother touches your arm that morning. She doesn't smile, but she doesn't frown either. "It's time," she says. You don't ask what for. You already know. You're led away from the village with a small bundle in your hands, just enough food for one day, a water skin, a pouch of dried herbs, and a small stone your grandfather gave you when you were 5, back when he said it would help you feel the river in your chest when you needed it most. He was never poetic, but he was always right. They walk with you to the edge of the forest, and then they leave. No goodbye, no instructions, just trees. You walk for hours, not far, but far enough. Far enough that the smell of smoke disappears, that the sound of chopping wood becomes memory, that even the paths underfoot stop recognizing your steps. You stop when the forest tells you to. You build a small shelter out of sticks and leaves, not because you're afraid of the cold, but because doing something with your hands helps slow the beating of your heart. You sit, and then you wait. 1 day, then 2, then 3. No food, no fire, just you in the woods. You don't talk, because no one would hear you. And besides, the only conversation here is the one happening between your bones and the silence. You think a lot at first, about everything, about how the birds always sound like they're laughing at you, about how your stomach has become a whisper, about how weird it is that you miss the smell of boiled corn and wet hide. Then you stop thinking. Not because you want to, because your mind just gets quiet, like it's tired of filling the space with noise. You start to notice things, the way the sunlight moves through branches at exactly the same angle every afternoon. The sound of wind when it brushes the grass instead of the trees. The way your heartbeat slows when you stop wishing to go home. That's when the dreams start. Small ones at first. Shadows dancing across your eyelids. Faces you don't recognize, but feel like you've known forever. Then bigger dreams. You see yourself walking through fire and not burning. You see animals speaking in a language you don't need to translate. You see your own death, but not as an ending, more like a path you haven't walked yet. You wake up shivering, covered in dew, heart pounding, and you realize something. This was the point. The hunger, the isolation, the stillness. It wasn't to break you. It was to let you see yourself. Because in these communities, becoming an adult didn't mean becoming loud. It meant becoming aware of yourself, of your place, of the cost of every breath you take and the responsibility of giving something back. On the fourth day, you rise without thinking. You walk without choosing. And when you reach the village again, no one claps. No one runs to you. They just look and nod, as if to say, "You saw it." And you nod back, because you did. Later that night, you sit beside the fire. Someone hands you food. It tastes better than anything you've ever had in your life, but you eat it slowly, mindfully. You understand now that nothing is free. Not the food, not the fire, not the space you take up on this earth. You sleep in your home that night, but it doesn't feel like a child's bed anymore. It feels like a choice. Back in your room, the silence is gentler now, the kind that doesn't scare you. You understand now what it means to fast, to wait, to listen. You understand the price of comfort. You may never sit alone in a forest for 4 days, but tonight, you've touched it. And sometimes, that's enough. You can sleep now. Let the world go quiet. Let your body soften. Let the dreams come. We'll keep walking tomorrow. You're doing better than you think. Good night. Sleep slips in easier now. You're getting used to the rhythm. That slow, steady slide into someone else's life. Some forgotten century. Some firelit ritual. You're starting to notice the way these stories all carry the same pulse, like footsteps on a forest floor, or the crackling beat of a ceremonial drum that was never meant to end. But we're not done. Not yet. Tonight, we travel back to the center of the continent, back to the rivers that never stop moving, back to the giant mounds that look like they were carved out of the sky itself. This is the land of the Mississippians. You're standing now in the shadow of Cahokia, a city, yes, don't let anyone tell you otherwise, with plazas and palisades, wooden buildings and wide avenues. It's not some forgotten village. This was a city, bigger than London at the same time, with more people than many European capitals. And in the heart of it all, a mound taller than a 10-story building, built one basket of dirt at a time. Welcome to your new reality. You've grown up here. You've watched the priests climb the steps of the mound each morning, faces painted, robes flowing, their silhouettes sharp against the rising sun. You've heard the drums. You've seen the dances. You've smelled the feasts, the roasting fish, the squash, the corn pounded into meal. You've also seen the sacrifices. You're not supposed to talk about them, not loudly, but you've seen them, and you've learned to look away when the fire goes quiet and the people stop singing. Now it's your turn. No, not for that. You're not being sacrificed. You're just being shaped. Initiation here isn't a single day. It's a season. A slow shift from oneself to another. And it begins with mud. You're led down to the edge of the river. It's swollen from recent rains, brown and thick and alive with all the things rivers carry when no one's looking. The older boys are already there. They're quiet, wet, covered in streaks of ash and ochre. You strip down. You walk in. The mud grabs your ankles like it knows something about you that you don't. They tell you to lie down. You do. The river laps against your face. It fills your ears. The sun burns your eyelids. And the voice of the priest, soft and cold and patient, tells you that this is your rebirth. You are no longer a child. You are something being sculpted. The others begin to chant. Not loudly, not in sync. It's more like humming, like the sound trees might make if they could sing. You rise from the mud, and you are told not to speak, not for 3 days. Not a word, not a whisper, not even in sleep. They call it the trial of breath, because when you can't speak, your breath is all you have. And suddenly, you notice how loud it is, how shaky, how it stutters when you're afraid, how it softens when you see someone you love. You spend the next 3 days in silence. You sleep in a hut made for the initiates. It smells like damp earth and nervous sweat. There are 6 of you. No one talks. Everyone watches. You eat in silence. You work in silence. You endure in silence. It becomes a language, a kind of bond. By the end of the 3rd day, you don't even want to speak anymore. Words feel loud, unnecessary. You've become fluent in eye contact and footsteps, and the creak of your own spine when you stand up after sitting too long on the hard ground. Then comes the next part, the procession. You're led to the mound, not the top, just the base. You kneel, and you wait. The high priest stands above you, holding a bowl. Inside, black drink. Not just any drink. This is a sacred brew, made from the Yaupon holly plant, known as the black drink. It's bitter, intense, a stimulant that hits your chest like a shout. You drink. Your hands shake. Your stomach turns. You drink again. You vomit. That's the point. You're purging again. Not just your body, your memories, your shame, your childhood. The priests call it cleansing. You're not sure what to call it. Painful? Yes. Effective? Probably. Afterward, you're allowed to stand. You're given a new cloth to wear. Your face is painted red. You are told your new name. And then you speak. Just one word. Your name. The one that marks you now as someone who has seen what lies beyond the surface. You're allowed to laugh again, to sing, to eat. But you're never the same. You carry the silence with you now. You carry the mud, the chanting, the drink that scalded its way down your throat and dragged your old self out of your gut like a ghost being pulled from a body. You carry all of it. Because that's the deal. Initiation doesn't give you something. It takes something, and you never quite get it back. You return home. Your mother looks at you. She doesn't smile, but she places a carved shell in your hand. That's all she says. And somehow, it's enough. Back in your world, the real world, the one with light switches and microwaves and 0 vomiting rituals, you lie still. You've never knelt at the base of a sacred mound. You've never drunk something black and bitter from a priest's hand. But maybe part of you has. Maybe some part of you remembers. And that's why you're here. Listening. Letting your breath slow. Letting your own noise go quiet. This part of the night isn't for learning. It's for resting. Let your chest rise. Let it fall. You are not in Cahokia. You are not purging anything except maybe the thought that you left the stove on. You're safe. You're home. Sleep now. There's more tomorrow. But tonight, just breathe. You've earned it. You wake up in the dark, not because something scared you, not because of a bad dream, just because your body isn't sure if it's supposed to be awake or asleep anymore. That happens when you've been carrying too many other lives inside your head. Lives that involved fire, fasting, masks, rivers, pain, and silence. But that's okay. That's what this space is for. Now close your eyes again and let's keep going. We're heading out onto the open land. No more forests. No more mounds. No more hidden sweat lodges wrapped in cedar smoke. Tonight you walk into the wind. This is the Great Plains. A sea of grass that stretches so far in every direction that you start to question whether the world has edges. The sky out here is huge. It makes you feel like an insect walking across someone's dinner plate. There are no trees to hide under, just the endless hum of wind through dry stalks and the occasional grunt of a bison herd somewhere far, far away. This is the home of the Comanche, the Lakota, the Crow, the Blackfoot. And you're one of them. Well, not really. But let's pretend. You were born into a world where movement is life. The camp never stays still. You follow the herds. You ride horses by the time you can walk. You sleep in a teepee that smells like smoke and skin and the last 5 meals. You know how to dry meat, stretch a hide, braid a rope, sharpen a knife, and tell when the clouds are about to lie to you about rain. And now you're 14, which means it's time. You knew this was coming. The whispers, the glances, the way your father stopped speaking to you directly last week, like he was letting you build your own silence. You knew. Initiation out here isn't a single ceremony. It's a gauntlet, a slow-burning test stretched out over weeks. And it begins with a hunt. Not a practice hunt, a real one. You are told to pack lightly. No bedding, no food, no extra clothing, just your bow, your knife, your flint, and your courage. You leave camp before dawn. There are 2 others with you, boys your age, nervous but pretending not to be. No adults, no guidance, just one goal. Return with meat or don't return at all. You walk for hours, then ride for longer. The land is endless. There is no GPS, no Find My iPhone. Just sun and shadow and your ability to remember the way the river curved when you passed it yesterday. You spot bison. They spot you first. They run. You miss. You fail. That night, you build a tiny fire and try not to cry from the ache in your legs. No one talks, because you all know that failure is part of the ritual. But if you give up, you'll return as a child, or not return at all. The second day, your arrow lands. Not a bison, a small deer. Enough. You carry it back together, slung between 2 of you on a pole. You don't speak until the smoke of the village finds your eyes again. When you return, no one celebrates. They just nod. You pass the hunt. Now comes the second part. Endurance. You are told to run laps around the camp. All day. This isn't punishment. It's demonstration. That you can keep going even when the sun makes your skin peel and your feet blister. That you can run without asking why. By the 5th lap, your legs are jelly. By the 8th, your vision blurs. By the 10th, your body gives up on complaining and just does what it's told. The elder watches. He doesn't smile. That means you're doing fine. After the run comes the branding. Yes, branding. It's not common in every tribe, but here it's the mark of endurance. They heat a small piece of metal, a symbol, carved just for you. They press it against the skin at the top of your arm. The pain is sharp, bright, immediate. Then it's gone. What's left is the smell of cooked skin and a shaking that you pretend is just the wind. You don't cry. Not because you're brave, but because the tears dried up sometime around lap 7. They wrap your arm in herbs and cloth. They tell you not to touch it. You nod. You won't. Even now, years later, you'll remember that smell every time you see smoke. That's the kind of memory you earn. The third test? Isolation. They tell you to go. No destination. Just go. Find a place. Stay there for 4 nights. Eat nothing. Think everything. You choose a rocky outcrop above a stream. The view is endless. The loneliness more so. You hallucinate on night 2. A woman with feathers for fingers touches your cheek and says your name backwards. You wake up in tears, but you stay, because that's the rule. Return too soon and it's like the hunt never happened. Return too late and, well, you might never return at all. On the 5th morning, you rise. You walk back, and the wind sounds different now. Not quieter, but like it respects you. The village accepts you. You sit with the men. You speak when spoken to. You are not praised, but you are not forgotten. You are now one of them. You walked, you bled, you endured. Not because you wanted to, but because you were supposed to. And no, you wouldn't last a day. But you did. You lasted many. And now you sleep in a new place inside yourself. Back in your room, your warm, carpeted, indoor plumbing having room. You stretch. No fire, no pain, no branding iron waiting. Just a soft pillow and the hum of night. You did well. Rest now. We have more pain to get through tomorrow. But tonight you just breathe and sleep because you earned it. The quiet is starting to feel familiar now. Not empty, not hollow, but full. Like when you're walking through deep snow and the sound of the world disappears under the weight of it. Like the pause between thunderclaps. Or the moment before you fall asleep, when your body lets go, but your mind stays just awake enough to notice the letting go. That's where we are now, that place between memory and dreaming. You've made it through the forests, the rivers, the plains. You've endured sweat lodges and silence and pain and hunger. You've walked with the Comanche, knelt with the Mississippians, sat still with the Haudenosaunee. But tonight we go somewhere smaller. Not less important, just smaller. More intimate, close, personal. The kind of world built from bark and smoke and slow patience. The kind of place where everything has meaning, even if no one writes it down. This is the world of the Dean. Or maybe the Gwich'in, the northern Athabascan peoples. Nomadic, careful, precise. Living in lands where the sun stays up too long in summer and barely shows its face in winter. You live in a small tent made of animal hide. You sleep beside a fire that always needs more wood than you have. You walk with your feet wrapped in hide and moss. Your life is soft-spoken. Not easy, just quiet. Your childhood is made of snow and berries, smoke and caribou fat, sharp stones and soft laughter. Your mother carries you on her back until you're old enough to walk, and then you walk, and then you never stop walking. The world around you is cold and moving and endlessly wide. You learn early that comfort is not something you wait for. It's something you make. And now you're 13. You wake up one morning, and your father doesn't smile at you. That's how you know. He gives you a small bundle, tells you to follow the dogs. They know the way, he says. You don't ask where. You don't ask why. That's not how this works. You just follow. Because if you don't know yet how to trust the path, then you're not ready for what comes next. The dogs lead you away from the camp, far, further than you've ever gone alone, across frozen rivers and through wind-swept hills. You lose sight of the smoke after an hour, then the footprints, then even the sound of the world disappears, swallowed up by cold and distance. Eventually, the dogs stop. There's a lean-to built against a cluster of rocks, rough, barely shelter. Inside, a stack of wood, a flint striker, a stone bowl, and a hide. This is yours. This is where you'll stay. For 4 days. No one tells you what to do. But you already know. You light the fire. You sit. You breathe. And then you wait. This is the vigil. It's not about visions, not about trials of pain or strength or cleverness. It's about watching, about being present with yourself in silence for as long as it takes. That's the ritual. You are not to eat. You are not to leave. You are to sit, watch, wait, survive. The first night is cold, not the kind of cold that makes you shiver, the kind that seeps in and takes its time. You curl into the hide. You stare at the fire. You imagine warmth as something you can hold between your fingers, if only you don't move too quickly. You think of your family, of the taste of boiled marrow, of your grandmother's laugh when someone drops a hot coal on their foot. The second night, the wind sings. It pushes against the hide like a voice trying to get in. You sleep in bursts. In between, you listen to the trees groan. You dream of walking through a valley made of bones, each one whispering a name you've never heard. You wake up crying, but you don't know why. The third day, the hunger vanishes. Your stomach gives up the fight and becomes something distant. You stop wanting food. You want something else, something you can't name. You whisper to the fire, not in words, just in thoughts. You say thank you to the wind for not taking your breath. You say sorry to the mouse that came too close to the flame. You say nothing to yourself, but you listen in case you're ready to speak. The fourth morning, you stand. You stretch, and you begin to walk. The dogs are already waiting. They knew the day. They knew the hour. You return to the village at dusk. No one rushes to greet you, but your father looks at you. He holds your gaze, and he nods. Later, he gives you a stone. Not special, not carved, just a stone. You carry it with you from then on, because you earned it. Not through endurance, but through presence, through waiting, through becoming part of the stillness. Back here, in the warmth of your bed, that silence lingers. You're not in the north. But maybe part of you remembers how it feels to sit with yourself, to breathe, to wait, to come back changed. Sleep now. The stories aren't over, but your body needs rest. We'll keep walking tomorrow. Good night. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't feel like tiredness. It's slower, thicker. It settles in your bones the way river silt settles after the flood, soft and heavy and permanent. That's where we are now. You've walked through so many lives already. You've held the silence, swallowed the pain, watched your breath turn to fog. You're starting to understand that these rituals weren't just about proving something. They were about becoming someone. And tonight, you become someone else again. This time, it's a world of canyons, sharp red walls, dry riverbeds, sky so blue it feels like an accident. You were born into a desert that doesn't care about your plans. You don't farm. You don't wander far. You live in stone, built into it, around it. The homes are carved into cliffs, stacked like honeycombs, each one holding heat in the winter, coolness in the summer, and the quiet patience of generations who refuse to give up on life just because the land refused to make it easy. You're part of a Puebloan culture. Maybe the Hopi, maybe the ancestral Zuni, maybe your great something once walked among the ruins that are now empty in photos, but full tonight in your mind. Your days are long. You wake with the sun, gather water from springs that hide under the rocks, grind corn until your arms ache, and watch the sky for signs of rain, of wind, of something else. You're a child until the moment they say you aren't. And today they've said it. Your mother wakes you early. She doesn't say why. She braids your hair tighter than usual, ties red yarn around your wrists. Then she hands you a woven pouch filled with cornmeal, a bit of salt, and a single feather. You don't ask what for. That's not how this works. You're taken to the kiva. You've seen it before. Round, sunken, sacred. A space below the earth, where the spirits live, where men speak to the past, where the air always smells like ash and something older. But you've never been inside, until now. You climb down the ladder. The air shifts, cooler, darker. Someone hands you a bowl of water. You drink. It tastes like stone and memory. There are others in the kiva, boys your age, one or two you've known since before you could speak. Now you sit in a circle with them, and none of you speak. The elder begins to chant, not for you, for the spirits, for the ones watching. You are painted with white clay, a pattern across your chest, your cheeks, your forehead. Not random. Nothing is ever random here. Every mark means something. You just don't get to know what yet. The next 3 days are a blur. You aren't allowed to leave. You sleep on the floor. You eat only cornmeal. You can't speak unless spoken to. And even then, you answer in a whisper. They tell you the stories, the ones not meant for children, the stories about the first people, about the world before this one, about the time before light, about what happens when you forget who you are. You listen. You don't always understand. But that's not the point. Understanding comes later. Enduring comes now. On the third night, they wake you with smoke. A ritual bath. You're led to the edge of the mesa, naked, shivering. The stars above are so bright they don't look real. You are scrubbed with herbs, ash, and sand. It hurts, not because it's harsh, but because the cold bites deep. Then they pour water over your head. It's not warm. It steals your breath. That's the point. You are being born again. Later, wrapped in a blanket, you sit by a fire, alone. You are to stay awake until dawn. You are not told what you're waiting for, just that when it comes, you'll know. You stare into the flames. The heat doesn't touch the chill inside your ribs. You blink slowly. You see shapes in the fire. You hear your grandfather's voice, though he's been dead since you were small. He says, "Listen, that's it. That's all. You don't know if it's a dream. You don't care. It stays with you. When the sun rises, you are given a new name. Not a nickname. A real name. One only the elders know. You carry it in your chest like a coal. Quiet, warm, alive. You return to the kiva, and they welcome you. Not with claps. With silence. That's how you know you've changed. Later, your mother gives you new sandals. You cry when she ties them. You don't know why. Maybe you do. Maybe you just can't say it yet. Because growing up here isn't about declaring yourself. It's about being recognized. And today, you were. Back in your bed, there are no sandals waiting. No ash on your cheeks. No cold wind in your lungs. Just soft blankets and the echo of a fire you didn't really sit beside, but somehow remember anyway. Breathe now. Let that memory stay soft. You've earned this quiet. Sleep is close. Let it take you. We'll continue tomorrow. And yes, it's going to hurt. But tonight, it doesn't have to. Good night. You've probably noticed by now that every place you visit lingers a little, even after the fires go out, even after the rituals end. The silence that follows still holds a shape, like the warmth left behind on a seat after someone stands up. You've carried the forests with you, the mountains, the rivers, the fire smoke, the sweat, the sharpness of bone, and now you carry the desert too, that long, red silence under the cliffs. But we're not finished, not even close. Tonight, we go to the coast. Not the warm, sandy kind with waves and tourists. This coast is colder, wilder. Salt hangs in the air like a second skin. Everything here is damp and alive and in motion. The ocean doesn't whisper here. It snarls. The trees are massive. The salmon fight to live. The sky always feels just a little too heavy. You're among the peoples of the Pacific Northwest now. Tlingit, Haida, Coast Salish. You live in a longhouse that smells like cedar and whale oil and wet feet. And your entire world is carved. Totems, masks, spoons, paddles, door frames. Everything. Nothing is plain. Nothing is empty. Even your dreams carry shapes. You're 12, maybe 13, old enough to know that stories can kill and names can save. You've spent your life so far watching the tide, learning to fish, practicing your paddling form, pretending not to listen when the elders speak of spirits and trials, and how one day you'll have to earn your place, not just inherit it. And today, that moment comes. They call you out at dawn. The tide is low. The mist is thick. The cold stings your ears and makes your fingers ache. You're brought into the longhouse, where the fire is still warming the corners of the air. A row of masks watches you from the rafters. Big, painted, not quite human. You've looked at them your whole life, but today, they look back. This is the beginning. Your clothes are removed, not in cruelty, just in ritual. You are not who you were yesterday. That skin has to go. You are painted with black ash, mixed with oil, streaked across your chest and down your back. A ring is drawn around your mouth, and you're told not to speak while it's there. And that's not just symbolic. It's enforced. You are not allowed to speak for the next week. Your silence is part of the passage. You are taken to live in the men's house. It's not just a place, it's a world. You sleep on mats. You wake before the sun. You work constantly. No fishing, no feasting, just hauling, splitting, carving, carrying water. splitting wood until your hands blister, then splitting more. Every action is being watched, not openly, but you know. The elders see how you carry yourself, whether you grumble, whether you follow the silence, whether you keep your eyes down when it's required and lift them when it's time. You do well, mostly. You don't cry when you trip and slice your palm on a sharp stone. You don't flinch when the old man pours salt water on the wound and tells you that healing doesn't wait for the ceremony to finish. After a week, you're told to prepare, not for a feast, for the trial. No one explains it to you. That's part of it. You are taken at dusk, blindfolded, escorted into the forest. The sounds change around you. The sea fades, the wind becomes sharper, the ground softer, wetter, sloppier. Eventually, the blindfold is removed. You are alone. No fire, no knife, no cloak. Just you, your thoughts, and the weight of everything you've carried here. You are to stay here until you dream the name the spirits give you. 1 night? 2? Number however long it takes. And you don't sleep, at least not at first. You sit by the roots of a massive tree, heart thudding against your ribs like it's trying to escape. The dark moves like water. Something howls in the distance, and something closer than you'd like answers. But you stay. Eventually, your mind slips. The cold makes your thoughts swim, and then it comes. The dream. You're underwater, not drowning, breathing. A salmon swims past, glowing red like it's made of fire. It turns, looks at you, and opens its mouth. Your name falls out, not your old one, not the one your mother calls you. A new one. Short, sharp, carved out of salt and bone. You wake up weeping, not from fear, from knowing. You walk back at dawn. No one speaks. They see you. They nod. You have your name. Later that night, the ring is wiped from your mouth. You speak. You say the name, and the longhouse echoes with a sound you've never heard before. Pride. Not applause. Not celebration. Just the warmth of being seen, of being named, of being held by something larger than yourself. Back in your soft, modern bed, it's strange to think that naming could be so hard. That silence could carry so much weight. That sitting under a tree in the dark with no coat could open a doorway in your mind. But that's what happened. You don't need to remember the dream. You just need to rest. Close your eyes now. You've walked far. You've survived worse. And you still have more to carry. But not tonight. Tonight, you let it go. You rest. That's enough. Good night. There's a kind of heaviness that builds over time. Not from sorrow, exactly. Not from fear. Just the quiet weight of understanding. You've stepped through so many lives now, worn so many bodies, tasted so many kinds of cold, hunger, silence. And the strange thing is, it doesn't get easier. You don't grow numb to it. If anything, it sharpens. The ache becomes more familiar, more human. You begin to see yourself not as a visitor to these worlds, but as someone who might have lived them if things had gone just slightly differently. Tonight, you open your eyes in a place where sound moves differently. It's soft here. The trees are thinner. The land is gentle. The sun is warm but not cruel. And the language people speak is the kind that carries through leaves. You are home among the Cherokee, or the Creek, or the Choctaw, maybe the Yuchi. It's hard to say, because the lines on the map haven't been drawn yet, and the words haven't been boxed in. All you know is that this is your village. The ground is firm and packed, swept clean by hands that remember how to care for a place. The houses are round and warm and built from what's available. Wattle and daub, clay and thatch, river cane and pine. The smell of corn cakes wafts through the air, mingling with the distant breath of wood smoke and the quiet clatter of women grinding maize. You are 12, and small for your age. But that won't save you, because today, the women stop whispering, and the men start watching. You don't know what exactly is coming, just that it will come from the direction of the council house, and when it does, you won't be able to go back to the way things were. It starts with water. You are led to the river, not to swim, to enter, to be submerged, to be scrubbed with river clay and pine needles and sharp bark-stripped twigs that leave red trails down your arms. The water is not gentle. It's fast and cold and endless. It doesn't care about your breathing or your goosebumps or your childhood. It drags the softness out of you. You're not allowed to speak while they clean you. You hear only the rush of the current and the chanting from the women behind you. It's not a song you know, and you'll never be taught it. It's not for you. After the washing, you are dressed in a robe made of bark cloth. It itches, and that's the point. Comfort isn't the goal here. Awareness is. You're taken back to the village, but not to your home. You are brought to the square ground, the sacred fire at its center. You sit beside it while the elders speak. They do not speak to you. They speak about you. They talk of your lineage, your strength, your stubbornness, your tendency to watch clouds instead of chores. They talk of the time you cried when your cousin fell in the fire pit. They talk of how you held the old dog's head when he died. You sit still, because this is part of the ritual. Being seen, not as a child, not as a helper, but as a whole person. Flaws, griefs, oddnesses, beauty, all of it. You are not praised. You are not scolded. You are witnessed. Then comes the fire ceremony. The ash is drawn across your forehead in a line. The coals are stirred, and someone whispers in your ear a question you don't understand. You are not meant to answer. You are meant to carry the question. It becomes yours. It belongs to you more than your name. Later, you are given a small satchel. Inside, one smooth stone, one bit of bear fat, a piece of red thread, and a folded scrap of hide with something written on it in symbols you've never learned. You're told not to open it. Not for many years. You're not even sure if you'll know when it's time. But that's the point. Some parts of becoming aren't for now. Some are for later. Some are seeds. And you don't get to see what they'll become. That night, you sleep on the dirt beside the fire. No mat, no blanket, no mother to whisper goodnight. Only the hiss of cooling embers and the echo of a question you don't have an answer for. You don't cry. You don't sleep much either. But you don't run. And in the morning, when the ash is wiped from your face and the robe is taken away, and you are handed back your name like it's a knife you now know how to carry, something shifts. You're still small, still unsure, still you, but different. Later, your mother touches your hair and doesn't say a word, which, in this place, means everything. Back in your room, that silence follows you. Not haunting, just full. Like the river that didn't stop rushing, even after you stepped out of it. The fire is out now, the ash is cold. But the question is still there, tucked somewhere behind your ribs. That's what initiation does. It doesn't finish you, it begins you. Now sleep. Let your body soften. Let your breath quiet. You'll carry more tomorrow. But tonight, just rest. You've earned that much. You're beginning to settle into it now, the rhythm of these stories, the way time stretches differently here, not in hours and minutes, but in firelight and footsteps and quiet conversations that last longer than they should. It doesn't feel like history anymore. It feels like memory, and not someone else's memory, yours, like part of you was always here, kneeling by the sacred fire, swallowing your breath in a cold stream, holding still while the old women painted your face with ash. Like all this was waiting for you to remember. And tonight, there's more to remember. We go far north again, farther than you'd like, farther than warmth is willing to follow. This is the land of the Inuit, the Arctic, not the postcard version, the real one, where winter isn't a season, it's a law. The cold here is personal. It doesn't just bite, it breaks. The wind doesn't gust, it cuts. And when the sun disappears, it stays gone for longer than your nerves can handle. But people live here. Not just live, thrive, laugh, hunt, building raise children, tell stories, sleep under caribou skins and wake to the sound of ice cracking under their walls. You are one of them. You live in a snow house when the season demands it. But most of the time, it's a semi-subterranean home made of stone, bone, and packed earth. Warmer than it looks, though the air always smells a bit like oil and seal hide and people who haven't bathed in a while. And no one minds. Clean is a luxury. Survival is the point. You grew up knowing that your hands had to know more than your mouth did. That if you couldn't skin a fish, or light a lamp, or patch a boot with sinew, you were dead weight. You didn't grow up with toys. You grew up with tools. And now, you're ready to become more. You're told you'll be tested, but not how. Because if you knew, it wouldn't be a test. The first sign is your mother handing you your father's knife. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't have to. You understand. That night, you sleep alone. Not far. Just enough. In your own snow shelter, packed tight and sealed from the wind. It's small. You have a lamp, a skin blanket, and a bag of dried meat. You aren't allowed to return to the main house until the spirits give you a dream. You wait. The silence is a kind of noise here. It groans, populations, moans with the shifting of ice. The lamp hisses beside you, casting flickers on the curved walls. Your breath is the only other sound, loud in your ears, fogging up the air around your mouth. You close your eyes, and you dream. It comes quickly. You're underwater, but not drowning, just floating. There's a shape below you, whale maybe, or something older. It rises. You can't move. Its eye is the size of your body, and it's looking straight into the part of you that still thinks you're a child. It whispers something, not in words, in memory. You wake up shaking, not from cold, from knowing. In the morning, you leave the snow house, not because someone told you to, because it's time. Outside, the wind burns your skin the moment you step out. You don't flinch. You walk back to the village. and no one greets you. That's how you know you passed. There is a feast, not for you, for the spirits. You eat seal meat quietly, while the elders talk about the time your great uncle stayed out too long and lost 3 fingers. You laugh because they tell it like a joke. Because out here, pain isn't a punishment. It's a teacher. Then they take the knife. Not from you, with you. You walk to the sea. There's a small fox carcass already laid out. They say, "Show us." And you do. You cut slowly, properly. No waste. No flinching. You've watched this your whole life. Now your hands know how to do it without thinking. They nod. Later, you are given a tattoo. Not a decorative one. A mark of survival. Lines on your chin, maybe. Dots along your arm. Painful? Of course. The needle is a sharp bone. The ink is soot. The skin is yours. But you don't move. You don't cry. You just hold your breath and let it happen. Because you know this is your receipt. Your evidence that you walked into the night and came back changed. That you held the cold without letting it inside. That you earned your name, your tools, your place. You don't talk about what the whale said. Not because it's secret, because you don't have words for it. And you wouldn't want them, even if you did. Back in your bed, wrapped in artificial warmth, it's easy to forget that people used to sleep inside houses made of snow, that they stared into lamps made of seal oil and talked to dreams more than they talked to each other, that they walked barefoot across ice to earn their place in a world that was always trying to erase them. But they did, and so did you. So now, sleep. Let your body melt into the mattress. Let the wind stay outside the window. Let the whale's eye close. You're warm now. You're safe. And you'll need your strength. There's more tomorrow, but for now, just rest. Good night. There's something strange about memory. It doesn't always belong to you. Sometimes it feels more like a current you stepped into, and now it's carrying you along whether you like it or not. These aren't just stories anymore. These are lives, people, pain, rituals that left marks on bodies and imprints on the earth. And the farther you go, the deeper it gets. You started with small aches. Now the pain is personal. Tonight it gets worse. You wake up in a different kind of world. This one isn't wide or empty or cold. It's dense, overgrown. The trees here are taller than your fears. The air is wet with breath. The sound of birds never stops. This is the rainforest, and you belong to the people who never left it. Maybe you're in what is now northern South America, near the Guianas, or perhaps in the humid lowlands of southern Mesoamerica. The specific name shifts, like all names do when you're dealing with a history that got buried under centuries of conquest. But you're part of a small, tight-knit community where the forest is everything. It gives you food, shelter, medicine, trouble, and sometimes visions. And now, you're of age. You don't remember how you slept. You barely remember waking. Just that the men came for you before the sun had climbed up the trees, and they didn't bring words. Just faces and a rope. You didn't resist, because that would have meant more pain later, and also because you knew this day was coming. They take you to a clearing. The sky opens up for the first time in what feels like years. The sun blinds you. You blink, squinting, and that's when you see the structure. It's not large, just 4 stakes hammered deep into the dirt. a woven canopy above, and hanging from the center, the object you've been dreading since your cousin screamed through his own ceremony 3 years ago. The gloves, made from leaves. But not just leaves. Bullet ants, hundreds of them, sewn inside, fangs outward, each one capable of a sting that burns like fire and lasts for hours. This is not metaphor. This is the satirical rite of passage. Real ants, real pain, real boys turning into real men. You are told to insert your hands. No gloves underneath, no protection. You're expected to wear them for 10 minutes. You hear the number and it sounds fake. 10 minutes with your hands being chewed by living fire. Your father nods. He did this once. He won't do it again. You slide your hands in. It's immediate. Not like a pinch or a scrape. It's a surge. Like being struck by lightning and then being told to hold very, very still. You don't scream. Not right away. You just tremble. Your jaw tightens until your teeth hurt. Your legs buckle, but you don't fall. That would be failure. Your vision blurs. The ants keep stinging. They don't stop. They don't get tired. They don't care that you're a child, that you're afraid, that this hurts more than anything you've ever known. They just do what they do, and your job is to endure, to hold still, to survive. At some point, the world shrinks down to your breath. Nothing else exists, just the pain and the effort of not letting it own you. And then, it's over. They pull the gloves off. Your hands are twice their size, swollen and purple and shaking. You collapse. They carry you. You don't remember much after that. Just flashes. Someone rubbing ash on your arms. Someone holding your head while you vomit. Someone whispering the old words that turn this agony into meaning. You sleep for 2 days. When you wake up, you can't feel your fingers. They say that's normal, that it comes back, eventually. And when it does, you won't be a child anymore. You'll be someone who lived through something that should have broken you, and didn't. That's the point. Not just pain. Proof that your body can hold more than your mind thought possible. That you don't run. That you don't give up. That you'll keep going even when every nerve is begging you to stop. Back in your bed, your fingers twitch under the blanket. They remember, even though they've never worn ant gloves, even though you've never stepped into a jungle, even though you've never felt anything sting for 10 straight minutes while a circle of elders watched your soul peel itself open. Your body still remembers something. That's how storytelling works. The pain isn't yours, but now it lives somewhere in you. Let it settle. Let it soften. You're safe. There are no ants here. Only pillows. Only night. Only breath. Sleep now. We'll keep going tomorrow. But tonight, let this one hurt a little, and then let it fade. Good night. It's funny, in a quiet kind of way, how pain shapes memory. Not the kind of pain that fades in an hour, like a stubbed toe or a pinched finger. Number. The kind of pain that rewires you, the kind you carry in your sleep. That becomes part of how you breathe. A shape you walk around and eventually stop noticing, but never really forget. That's the kind of pain you've been collecting. Each ritual, each trial, each story. It isn't just a history lesson. It's a scar, a ceremony, a whisper from someone who lived long before you. telling you what they had to go through to be seen. And tonight, that whisper leads us far inland, to the grasslands, rolling endless plains where the sky never seems to end and the wind never stops moving. You've been here before, sort of, but this time, it's different. You're not part of a great mound city or a crowded longhouse village. You are born into a nomadic band, where every sunrise is in a different place, and every fire is temporary. You live in a skin lodge that flaps when the wind kicks up, and you sleep on a floor that turns to mud when the storms come. You are Comanche, or Lakota, or perhaps Cheyenne. Your world is buffalo hides and bone tools, sunburnt shoulders and horses that know your footsteps better than your voice. You've grown up fast here. Everyone does. You were riding bareback by the time you could walk. You could string a bow before your teeth finished growing. And you've already seen blood, not in some ceremonial way. Real blood. From hunts, from raids, from sickness that didn't ask for permission. You've buried cousins. You've seen your father return with wounds he didn't explain. You're old enough to know that this world doesn't slow down for the weak. And now you're being asked to prove you aren't one of them. Initiation here isn't about fasting or dreaming. It's about taking pain like it's nothing. Because if you can't take it, how are you supposed to survive in a world that gives it to you every day? You wake up before the sun. The lodge is already quiet. The women have taken the younger children down toward the water, away from what's coming. The men are waiting near the sweat lodge. It's not just for cleansing today. It's for transformation. They strip you down, smear your body in a mix of mud and ash until your skin looks gray and cold. They don't speak. They don't smile. That would break the spell. You step into the sweat lodge, and the heat swallows you. It isn't just hot. It's alive. Like the air itself is being boiled. The stones hiss when water touches them, and the steam wraps around your head like a hand that won't let go. You can't breathe without coughing. Your throat dries out. Your eyes burn. And still, you sit. They tell you the spirits are watching, that the ones who came before you are waiting to see if you'll fold. You don't fold. You just sweat. You just shake. You just let the world collapse into a ring of fire and breath and pounding in your chest. After the third round, you can barely stand. But standing is required. You stumble out of the lodge, blind with heat and half hallucinating. That's when they mark you. Not with paint, with a knife. A sharpened bone needle, pressed just under the skin of your chest, pulled through slowly, carefully, while the others hold you still. You are not to scream. You are not to look away. This is part of the ritual. And once the skin is pierced and raised, they slide wooden slats behind it, one on each side of your chest. Then they tie them to ropes. And those ropes, they go up to a beam. You're told to lean back, and then they hoist you. By the flesh of your chest, you leave the ground. The pain is bright, white, soundless. It doesn't feel real. Not at first. Your vision tunnels. Your jaw locks. You don't cry. You float above the fire pit, suspended. Time vanishes. They leave you like that. Not for punishment. Not for cruelty. For power. This is the sun dance. It's one of the hardest rituals in all of North America. And it isn't just pain for pain's sake. It's sacrifice. Your suffering is a gift. For your people, for the buffalo, for the earth. You hang there for what feels like forever. Some boys faint, others scream. You stay quiet. You go somewhere else. A place inside you where the nerves can't reach. A place you didn't know existed. Eventually, the ropes are cut. You fall. Not hard, just enough. You're caught. Lowered. Someone holds you. You don't remember walking. You wake up later, wrapped in furs, chest bleeding, arms numb. You've passed. You don't ask what that means. You just feel different. Because now, you understand something that words can't explain. That pain, willingly taken, becomes something else. Something sacred. Something yours. Back in your room, you touch your chest. There are no scars there, no ropes, no beam above your head. But your body knows what it means to carry pain, even imagined pain, even remembered pain. Let that go now. Let it slip out of you like heat from a cooling fire. Your work is done for tonight. The stars are still up above the plains. The horses are asleep. And so are you. Good night. Pain is starting to feel familiar now. Not just the kind that stings your skin or makes you grit your teeth, but the kind that sits deep in your chest after the trial is over. That slow, quiet ache of transformation. The kind you don't notice at first, until you catch yourself walking differently, breathing differently, carrying silence like a new language. You've come far already, and still the road stretches on. Every ritual, every culture, every strange and sacred moment, none of it has broken you. And somehow, you're still listening. Tonight, we go even deeper. Into the swamps. Into the forgotten heat. Not everyone thinks of Florida when they think of ceremony. But before the freeways and the gators on postcards, before retirement homes and strip malls, this land was alive in a different way. And it still is. Wetland and forest, cypress and palmetto. The air is thick with green and buzzing things. The ground is soft in places and sharp in others. And here, in this almost sinking land, you belong to the ancestors of the Calusa, or maybe the Tequesta, or the Timucua, peoples who lived with the water instead of trying to drain it away. You are not a desert child here. You are a child of tide and storm. Your home is built up high on a platform, dry enough to sleep, close enough to the mangroves to hear frogs at night. You wear little, because there's no point pretending this place isn't hot. You swim before you walk. You eat shellfish and boiled tubers and smoked fish so fresh it still tastes like the sea. You've never seen snow. You've only seen the wet, unblinking eye of the marsh. And now you are of age. You don't know what the ritual will be. Not exactly. The adults never say much, just that it hurts and that it matters. One morning, you're taken from the village by canoe. No farewell, no ceremony yet. Just you and two elders, paddling silently down a canal thick with mosquito hum and air, so damp it feels like your skin is drinking it. You pass birds, ibis, egret, heron, all watching you like they know what's coming. Eventually, you reach a small mound, artificial, old, a rise of shells and bones and earth, sacred ground. You climb it barefoot. The shells cut a little, not enough to bleed, just enough to remind you that the earth here remembers everything, every feast, every burial, every rite of passage. At the top of the mound, they tell you to strip. You're given only a string belt and a small pouch of powder made from dried plants. You don't ask what it's for. You'll find out. They build a fire. They make a tea. It smells wrong, like mold and bitterness and something else, something older. You drink it, not a lot, just a gourdful. Then you wait. At first, nothing, then everything. The forest begins to breathe differently. The trees bend in ways they didn't before. The sky pulses. Your body feels like it's sinking while your heart is floating. You've been drugged, but not poisoned. Purged. This is a vision ritual, meant to unmake your mind just long enough to see through it. Your stomach revolts. You retch onto the ground, shaking, sweating, weeping without knowing why. The elders say nothing. They watch, and then the heat comes, not from the fire, from inside. Your skin crawls, your joints pulse. You feel every mistake you've ever made rising in your chest like steam. You dig your hands into the shell mound just to remind yourself you're still here. And then, just when it feels like your body is about to break open, something changes. The air clears, the nausea fades, the forest stops moving, and in that stillness, you see something. Maybe it's your ancestor. Maybe it's an animal. Maybe it's a shadow that speaks with your mother's voice. It tells you something simple, a phrase, a word, a name. You will not forget it. You pass out. When you wake, it's dusk. The sky is pink, and your mouth tastes like smoke and salt. You sit up, groggy, sore, empty, and full all at once. The elders hand you a necklace made from shells and carved bone. You don't know what it means. You'll figure it out later. You paddle home in silence. And when you return, the village welcomes you, not with music or dancing, but with stillness. Everyone sees you. That's enough. Back in your room, you don't have a mound beneath you, no shells underfoot, no bitter tea turning your thoughts inside out, but you still feel the echo of it, that long, fevered moment of becoming. It's still in you. It will be, for a while. Sleep now. Let the air grow still again. Let your heartbeat settle. You're through the vision. You made it back. Good night.